So you have handled litigation against Bayer for Roundup, which used to be Monsanto's Roundup, but there is a bill right now in the Missouri State House that would effectively shield Bayer from any liability with regard to these Roundup glyphosate products, because this legislation put forward in this legislature says that, hey, there's no more duty to warn if your product is going to kill somebody, because our law says if it was approved by a government agency, that's all the warning people need. People will die if this becomes law.
Oh, there's no question. You'll have every chemical pesticide company in the world putting awful stuff. Paraquat will become the new norm. DDT will become the new norm. Here's the problem. It's a bigger problem than just what is happening with Roundup. Roundup is the microcosm of it. There was a time there used to be a guy, he's still around, his name's Karl Rove. And Karl Rove had a goal. His goal was to convince the American public that anything that lawyers did was really bad, that we had been responsible for kids not being able to play baseball, that research has been stifled because of what lawyers do by bringing lawsuits, that the medical profession can't operate because of lawsuits. That's where this is really heading. This is the beginning. You're also seeing it with Uber. When you have a choice between Lyft and Uber, Uber right now is becoming a nightmare where it comes to its assault on the civil justice process. Totally. They've got bills right now in Nevada where they're trying to just make a lawsuit for the individual that's been injured, almost impossible. They're the new face of what is called tort reform. We're moving into a whole new area, a whole new swing of tort reform. It's not, we see it with Democrats as bad as we see it with Republicans. It doesn't make any difference. You are politically side blind by that. But here's where this goes. Farron. If we allow it to happen, they're shutting the doors to the courthouse. And that's what Bayer's trying to do here. Shut the doors to the courthouse. Just like Johnson & Johnson's doing with Talc, $500 billion company trying to go to bankruptcy court. Shut the doors to the courthouse.
And people have to understand, I mean, if you're watching this, you're in Missouri, please understand, there is no way this law could even remotely benefit you unless you're the CEO of Bayer living in Missouri. I don't know where he lives, but this doesn't benefit you. And you need to demand better of your lawmakers, because they're the ones doing this not for you, they're doing it to you. And it blows my mind that stories like this do not get picked up, because this is a big one.
What it is we have a mechanism that we use, and that is, this will never happen to me, okay? It'll never happen to me. When they were trying to limit the ability for somebody that has catastrophic injuries in auto cases, that was happening in 40 states around the country. They wanted to limit it to $100,000.
Yeah.
And no punitives. $100,000. Economic dollars. I mean, there was no distinction. It wasn't just pain and suffering. They wanted $100,000. And when that happens, then the company has a free ride. Well, it's just the cost of doing business. Yeah, we're kind of cutting the corners on this product. We know that we're killing people. We know we're killing people with Roundup. They clearly know that. But if we have a protection, so what? It's just the cost of doing business. There is actually something called, we've seen documents, I've had them in depositions, where the company is calculating, if we kill this many people, we're still way ahead, because we've made $100 billion, but we're going to have to pay out $3 billion, just like we saw with opioids. That was purely a calculation.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of BP and their Three Little Pigs document.
Oh, talk about that's a wonderful document.
Yeah, that is it's horrific, and it of course relates to the oil spill that happened in the Gulf of Mexico years ago. But they had the document that was called Three Little Pigs. Well, here's what happens if we build the house out of straw, which means if we cut every possible corner, we save this much, but we're looking at this much in liability. But if we build it out of sticks, it's not as secure as bricks, but our liability reduces and the amount we save now outweighs that liability. We build it with bricks. It's way more expensive and there's little liability, but just too much. So they built the house out of sticks.
Yeah.
So that was their Three Little Pigs analogy. We can half-ass it just enough to still make a big profit.
Well, as you know, we handled that case,
Yeah.
and we are the ones that uncovered that document. And we were all, as lawyers, startled. Surely this didn't happen, but it did.
Yeah. Former Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, 11 years in jail.
The rest of his life, for all practical purposes.
Yeah, I mean, he's
It's a death sentence.
he's not coming out from that, and this is good, right? This is not something that Democrats need to be upset about. You should be celebrating the fact that, hey, this guy was corrupt as hell. He went through the justice system. He also whined that, oh, I'm being politically targeted. No, you're not. You're a corrupt bastard that you got caught. You had money sewn into your friggin' suit jackets. You deserve what's happening to you now.
Yeah, okay, so the way I see it, first of all, I was appalled that he cried. I mean, this grown man who has gotten away with this in the past. He got away with this years before with a hung jury. And the question was, well, was there some money involved? I mean, they don't know.
Right.
I mean, the question's
People forget about that. This was not his first rodeo here.
And the first charges were just as bad as this. It was bribery. He was taking gifts. Here was a little more direct because we saw the gifts. We saw the gold that was in his closet, the gold bars underneath his bed, the money that was sewed into the lining of his jacket. It was so tangible. We could see that. And we saw this really ugly story develop where he's blaming his wife. Come on.
Yeah.
At some point, was blaming his wife for what had happened to him. And I think the culmination of it is to see this man crying when he's gotten away with an awful lot and he knows he's done some horrible things. Understand, this wasn't just minor stuff. This was stuff that affected national security.
Yeah, with Egypt and the other countries involved, state secrets types thing.
Right.
I mean, giving them access to things they should not have had access to.
Correct.
It was horrific. But what was also horrific was that when this story came out, you and I immediately said he needs to resign immediately. Democrats need to demand his resignation. And people were pissed. People said, well, no, he's entitled to due process. And we never said don't give him due process.
But get him out of there.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to be in the Senate. Fetterman was the only person who was openly vocal about him resigning.
I am getting every day to where I love Fetterman more and more. I mean, this is a guy, he says some crazy stuff. But think about, he was the only person that said, what is it I'm missing here? This is a criminal. He's already been a criminal. Yeah. You know what he's doing is, he was being a criminal. We saw the gold. We saw the money. No, this isn't the way. What was his argument? Well, I just save like that. I save money by putting gold bars on it. I mean, come on. So the Democrats were saying, we're going to wait till the bell rings. They knew exactly. Within 2 weeks, it was very clear. But what I do love is I love that when we have a justice system that's it's a dual system. I mean, the have-nots are treated one way and the haves are treated another. Any way you want to mix it up, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
And so most of the time I see it in corporate. I'll see a company that's killed thousands of people, just thousands of people, with a bad product. Okay, like we just talked about the Roundup story. They've killed so many people. But we don't do to them what we did to this senator, because they don't look like criminals. Again, they went to Yale, they went to Harvard. They don't look like criminals, so we don't treat them like criminals. And I was really glad to see this guy was really treated like the thug that he is, at least the second time.
I agree. The only thing I'm going to disagree with you on is I actually, as time goes on, I'm liking Fetterman less.
Really? Okay.
He peaked with me when he called for the resignation of Menendez. I agreed with him 100%. Not liking a lot of the things he says, but that's, we actually discussed that a couple weeks ago. But
We disagree on a lot of things, but we don't argue about
Right.
it. We just make a statement and move on. And I like that chemistry, actually.
well, and that's the thing too, is I'm not a huge fan of Fetterman, but credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
He is the first one that came out in the Senate and said, "Get this SOB out of here."
Yeah.
And that's
He's an embarrassment.
he
Okay.
really is.
Yeah.
He was. He'll be an embarrassment in jail, and
I don't think he'll make it. It's like the Weinstein thing. You look at this guy. I saw a picture of Weinstein, for example, a couple of days ago. He's in this shambled suit, and his health's bad. But this is a guy that he was a predator. Okay, he thrived on the lives of so many people, and this guy did too. This senator did too,
Yep.
and put national security at risk while he was doing it. And it always ends bad. Well, it doesn't always end badly, but it's great when it does. And that's what we saw here.
yep.